This is the first assignment for quiz 6 in Algebra 2B in the second trimester. So I recommend reading through this and definitely watching one of these two videos. Sometimes these are pretty simple and sometimes they're very involved with figuring out the common denominator and then also setting the numerator equal to 0 and solving. You should always check on your calculator's table that indeed what you have is a solution, because sometimes we get what are called extraneous solutions. So those are solutions arrived at algebraically that are not an actual solution to the equation. Okay, so I will refer to this often as we are going along. And the big thing is the getting of the common denominator when you have to, and then collecting the terms in the numerator correctly and distributing any negatives through parentheses. Those are the big things. Just a note, you can get all real numbers as a solution and no solution are possibilities. And in solving, your numerators could possibly be a linear equation to solve or a quadratic. So get ready for that. All right, here we go. So first of all, if you have a single fraction, so on each side, a single fraction equals another single fraction, then you are good to do what's called the cross product. Okay, so you just multiply across like so. And that means you really multiplied each side by 7 times x minus 2 in parentheses. I'm not going to get into that. Cross product is much simpler. But this is when you have one simple fraction on each side. And these, of course, are the easiest. So subtract 5x on each side and add 21. Hopefully you can do that. And so x is 11/2 or 5.5. So on our list here, this is just number 1. Okay, make sure you check your answer after you solve. Now, number 3, note that we have more than just a single fraction on the left side. But note that we have all common denominators. So what I'm going to tell you is that you need to pull everything to the left-hand side. And have it equal to 0. That's going to be when there's more than just a single fraction on each side. This is going to be what you're going to have to do. So negative 2x plus 5. So what did I just do there? This is called condensing the fraction. So you do x minus 3x, that's negative 2x, and then negative 3 plus 5, which I did not do correctly, sorry about that, plus 2. So you combine all the top correctly, adding like terms. It's not hard to do. Then what do? So once you condense this into a single fraction equal to 0, you take the numerator equal to 0 and solve. And you get x equals 1. And that's going to be the solution. You just need to make sure that you check that it doesn't put a 0 in the bottom anywhere, and you should be good to go. And this is going to be the art of the game. Okay, so all your terms on the left, make sure you have a common denominator. Again, if there's more than one fraction, and you cannot just cross multiply. So you see here again, we almost have a common denominator. So what are these two missing? These two are missing a 2. So you have to figure out what it's missing. And so multiplying by 2 creates the 4b squared. So before you take everything to one side, so that 2 times 3 will be 6 on the top. And then we have to subtract 2 times b plus 4 over 4b squared. So we were missing a 2 in the top and bottom. Now, again, we want to combine all of our terms in the top, and so do this correctly. And you should get negative b plus 4. So 12. So this is where you have to be really careful. How did I get negative b plus 4? So b minus 2b. You're running the negative 2 through this set of parentheses. And then 6 plus 6 is 12, minus 8 is 4. Now we take the top equal to 0 and solve. And b is 4. And just make sure again that that does not put a 0 in the denominator. It does not. So we are good. You'll eventually get the hang of this after you see enough of these. So we've scanned left to right. Notice that we are missing a 3x on the top and bottom in this one to make the 6x squared. So we want to create that same fraction left to right, and that's the challenge. So, and then we have to subtract them all to the left-hand side. So get the common denominator, subtract them all to the left. So negative 3x minus 6, and then we're just worried about the top. For the most part, these are pretty easy. At least I made them that way. Certainly you can make them harder. Okay, so problem 9 is next. A little cross product here again. So back to just the single fraction on each side. The SAT loves these, by the way. So 14x minus 28 equals 5x minus 10. And then subtract, so 9x equals 18. And you get x equals 2. Now, I did this deliberately. You cannot have 2 as a solution. This is extraneous. Because when you put it in, back up here, it puts a 0 in the denominator. So this is a no solution. So I wanted to include one of those that has an extraneous solution. So you always need to check against that denominator all the time. On to 11. So note that we have a common denominator already. So you're just taking what's over on the right to the left. Everything on one side, everything with the common denominator. So negative x plus 2 over. So then take the numerator equal to 0, and you get 2. If you are ever in doubt, you need to check on your table. Now it's going to take a little bit of entering. So you got to enter the original all on one side. So you'd actually enter this to check. Okay, problem 13. So notice we're missing a 2 on top and bottom here, and we're missing a 6k on the top and bottom. So we have 1 over 6k squared minus 2 over 6k squared minus 6k over 6k squared. So you have to figure out what you're missing. Now there's, so I try to create the least common denominator. There are other common denominators you could create, but 6k squared is the smallest. So you take this equal to 0, divide by 6, oh, whoops. Okay, I'm off by, so I had to, when I took this term to the other side, that becomes plus. Sorry about that. And I wanted to figure that, make sure that I'm right. So when you divide, it's positive 1/6. Now, here's what you can do to check this out, to make sure there's no mistakes. You can enter this in on your table. And so you got to be careful with how you put things in. So notice how I'm doing this. Minus 2 over 6x squared plus 6x. You should use the fraction entry tool for sure. I'm breaking all those rules here. Plus 6x over 6x squared. And then I am saying that 1/6 is a 0. So I'm going to start my table there and note that that is 0 there. So that's how you could check it. You know, usually whole numbers show up on your table, but this is how for sure you can check to see that it is indeed a 0. Okay, and then problem 15. To conclude our festivities on the first assignment here. So notice we're missing a 5x on top and bottom. So we have 1 over 15x squared minus 5x over 15x squared minus 7 over 15x squared equals 0. Just make sure you've got all the signs right as you take everything to the left. Okay, so this will be negative 6 minus 5x when we combine the top over 15x squared. So we take the top equal to 0. And so x is negative 6 over 5. Make sure you divide by the correct thing. So make sure you're dividing each side by 5 and doing things correctly. So that is the first assignment for quiz 6.